Welcome to Native Sessions here at AD Sound Lab. I'm joined with Barnt. Give it up for Barnt, people.
Hello. Thank you.
And for the next 30 minutes or so, he's going to do a similarly deep dive into a track deconstruction, but more importantly, looking at how you can transform what could be one preset into another style of a preset using Massive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I will concentrate on doing a pad with Massive.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, before we dive into the track, tell us a little bit about your music production background.
I'm from Cologne. I mostly do electronic dance music. I've released on labels like KOMPLETE. I have a little small label called Magazine. So yeah.
Cool. So the track you're working on here, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna start with the Massive track here. This one. So, has anyone ever used Massive in their productions? Okay, quite a few actually. Okay, cool.
Who hasn't used it?
Who hasn't?
So lots of you can't decide. Have I used it or not? No, who hasn't? Because it'd be good to know. Okay, there you go. There you go. Right. Okay. So assume a few people haven't used Massive before. So maybe let's give a little bit of the overview.
I give a little introduction. Yeah. So Massive is a wavetable synth from Native Instruments. You have 3 oscillators here. And yeah, as it's a wavetable synth, you basically choose from different wavetables that generate the sound. You would choose, for example, for the first oscillator, you could choose any of these wavetables here, and the same goes for the other 2 below. And what's the interesting thing about a wavetable is it's not only one waveform, but you can it's up to over 100 waveforms in one file, and with this thing here, you can kind of switch between them. So it's a bit more versatile than a normal synth, I would say. But I don't want to dive too much into this. Also, I'm not really an expert about this. So doing a pad. A pad is you could say it's a drone. It's an endless sound, and sometimes it's a very nice fundament for a track. So what you would usually do when you start looking for a pad is like you open up Massive and then you go to the browser and you type in pad. That's how I would do it. And then all these hundreds of presets turn up, and I just start with the first one here, and let's see how it sounds. I hope it's not too loud now. Let's see. Okay, sorry.
Solo.
So this is I just chose the first pad. So it's interesting, but it's not really what I'm looking for. So I just skip to the next one. These are all presets in the synth. So in the end, when I do this, quite often I don't. It's not really what I'm looking for, because it's supposed to be a pad, so it's already very well defined. So what I did here in this case, I just went back to the search term and just didn't put in any search term. So I now have all the presets that are in the synth. So I do the same again. I just type in on the first preset. I play it. So it's obviously not a pad, so it won't work. So the next one. Oh no, it's like, yeah, it's a bit too massive. Also, oh, too much. Also, So then I found this one, and I thought like, okay, it's actually a lead. Or do you say lead or lead?
Lead.
Lead, sorry. It's actually a lead. So is it? Let me check. So it's not really supposed to be used as a pad, but that makes it a bit more interesting. So yeah, it's supposed to be a lead, like it sounds pretty much like a lead. So, but I thought like, okay, let's try to use it as a pad here. So this is actually a track I'm working on right now. So I just have a bass drum and some rhythmic elements. I will play it now, and then I will add the pad to it. Maybe it's a bit too loud, maybe? I can do it myself, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. A bit louder, actually.
Cool. It's good like this, right? Yeah. So, okay, now I add my pad to it that I just found, or the lead, but I treat it as a pad. And I kind of use it as a like a fundament instead of a bass line. It gives me a lot of freedom because I can still decide, will I add some rhythmic bass elements, or also if I play a melody now, I already have the basal note, so I have the mood. I cannot play too many wrong notes, kind of.
So with the actual clip, the MIDI information, is it a single note or is it a chord that's playing?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's what I was. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Right.
It's a single note. I just put it in before, but it's basically just a D. And yeah, I put this at the start so that I can hear the sound, actually. Actually, it's quite handy to prolong this a bit. Like, let's do it a bit longer. So, because this is still a session or not arranging, so I want it to be endless. So now it's kind of long. So yeah. So let's look at this pad a little bit in the massive. So actually, I change from the browser view to the synth view here. And now I have the whole system right in front of my eyes. And what you see here is actually, I mean, I didn't do anything to this yet. It's basically the preset. So I see here all the oscillators are on, and I see they are slightly. This one is normally pitched, and this one is slightly pitched up. This one is slightly pitched down, and I show you the effect for real quick. Let's make this solo again. So I just play the even pitched one right now. And now I add the one that is a bit lower pitched. You hear it a little bit, and then this one. Maybe you hear it better when this is the normal one. This is a bit higher. Now you hear it; it's a bit higher, and this one is a bit lower. So, actually, I could think of, okay, maybe one is enough because this is not the main element of the track. So I could think like, okay, maybe I only use one of the oscillators. So let's see how it sounds. This is only the third one, so I add the second one. And I like it. It's a bit more complex, so I leave them like they are.
And it's fatter, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It's this is a pretty tested approach to creating sounds that you have the same sound just a little bit pitched up or down, and usually it's pretty good. So yeah, I quite like it. So I don't change it actually. I could also say, okay, I want to change the wavetable here, but I'm not going to do this because it's changing the sound too much. I can show you just so you'll see how drastically it changes the sound with oscillator 1. I just go. You see, it's like very different. I don't really want to change that, so I will keep it. What was it?
Smooth square.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, and actually, this is approach I like to do. That I know it's not very, like, people don't really admit that they use presets, but I think it's a good starting point, because you hear it very like you are distanced from it, and you have the ear is way more capable of saying what it is when you didn't do it yourself. So it's a very good starting point, and I prefer kind of to only do maybe slight corrections in the actual preset, but then I prefer to actually concentrate on equalizing it with my own equalizers, or with the ones from Ableton, or like I will show you in a minute how I do it, because then you kind of like you add your own way, and you make it your own more easily than when you try to tweak in a synth and you get easily lost sometimes.
So, I mean, using a lead sound was obviously, to get to a pad sound, the lead sound is easier because it's got sustain. So,
yeah.
If you'd perhaps found a percussive sound that you were interested in,
yeah,
would you obviously change the envelope to obviously suit the shape of a pad, right?
Definitely, yeah. Then you would have to do this step,
yeah.
Definitely.
So perhaps want to quickly show that, just if people had a percussive sound, or if you had a percussive sound, what elements of Massive would you use to do that?
I never did it actually, but it's a super good idea.
Hey.
Maybe you should show me.
Well, if you want me to.
Yes, please.
Okay. No, so it's basically here in this section here. So if you open up Massive, so essentially in Massive you've got these envelopes here, right?
Yeah.
So this envelope here is the amp envelope.
Yeah.
So basically, if it was percussive, it'd be something like, oops.
You would prolong
something like that.
Yeah.
If it was short, but then obviously just use the ADSR to basically make it.
Yeah, and to prolong it. Yeah. Okay, cool. I will try then.
I'm done now. Yeah.
That's pretty good, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, but for now, let's stay with our lead sound here that we misuse as a pad. Yeah, what I like using these pads, they sound very strong, and they are very subtle foundation for a track, but usually they are too strong, or they take away a lot of space in your track, and it's very hard to balance it. Like most of the times you end up with a pad that is too strong, and then when you play some melodies over it, or you want to add maybe rhythmic bass line elements, you realize you cannot really hear them. So the next step for me would be to work a bit with this pad, actually. So that's what I show you now. So first of all, it's I show you how it looks. Just in a minute. Sorry. I will show you how it looks on an equalizer, so that you have an idea how much space it's taking up. So you see here, this is the pad right now, so it's all over the place, and unless you want it to be the very main element, it's too much, actually. So first of all, what's really handy, or what I always do, I just sidechain the bass drum. I take the bass drum as a source and sidechain the pad, so that I actually, whenever the bass drum kicks in, the low end of the pad is gone for a second, which is a fairly, I think most of you most of you people will know this approach when you are into production. And with this pad, it definitely makes sense, I would say. So I put this on. And now you see, every time the bass drum kicks in, the bass region of the pad is turned down. Maybe it's a bit too much here, but just to get the idea. And what I like to do, that you shouldn't really hear it affecting the pad when you listen, when you hear everything together. Then you kind of do it right. So let's listen to it. And now I turn it off. And it's still fine. We could actually raise this a little bit. So it's a bit more. So it's a bit more subtle if you don't really hear it right away, but when you play in a bigger club, you will definitely hear it clashing, and so it's kind of a safety measure. It's not really, yeah. Sorry. Yes, exactly. It's because of, first of all, it's I do it here. I only do it in the bass region because the pad is also in the high frequencies, so I don't want to affect them. Then it would duck every time. So basically, that's why I do it. And it should only kick in when the bass drum kicks in. This ducking. So I. I think actually, if it's a dynamic compression, then you would also reduce the highs, right? And if you use a dynamic EQ, you can choose the region you want to reduce. But it's both compression, right?
It's both.
Yeah.
You know, frequency specific compression.
Yeah, actually, dynamic EQ is frequency specific compression. Yeah. So. Yeah, again, you didn't hear any big changes when I add this, but this is how I like it. It should still be sounding strong without taking away too much from the bass drum. So
and it's also subtle, isn't it? It's not sidechain compression in the usual, really pronounced way. It's using it just to give some space for the kick drum.
Yeah, actually, yeah, exactly. Actually, when it's done right, you hear the result on the kick drum and not on the. Sure. So actually, I'm not really working on the pad right now. I'm working on the kick drum, you could say. And I can show you here. That's a really nice feature here in this one, in this dynamic EQ. When I can just hear what it does if I click this. So I turn it up a bit. So you hear it's reducing this bits. These are taken away. So it's basically only the very moment where the bass drum is kicking in. You don't hear the lower part of this pad. It's a very classical approach, but also very effective. Otherwise, if you have too much things in the bass region, you cannot really play it in clubs anymore. So it's a well-tested approach. So I did this. Okay, now I have to turn it off. Yeah. Then I thought, okay, actually, it's kind of, it's still a bit dull, maybe, or like not. It could be a bit more aggressive. So I added a distortion a little bit. I do it with the drums. So I put on the pedal now. It comes a bit more brighter. It's getting a bit more. You can hear it better, but it's actually not much louder. So this is kind of nice. But I also thought, okay, if I'm gonna add some melodies, it's getting too big again. So I'm starting to add an EQ. So oh no, wait, sorry. Yeah, it's actually now it's getting too powerful again, and now I added the pedal, and it sounds great, but it's a bit too powerful. So, and in the end, you will EQ any of your tracks in when you do a track when you do a song. So of course I start EQing here, and what I came up with was I just show you what I did in my studio, like that you see the difference. So this is without the EQ. And this is with the EQ. So now it's really bassy, but still has some crispy elements through because of the pedal is on. If I would turn off the pedal now, it would be way too low. Or maybe not, but it's not way too low, but this is how I kind of like it, actually. Yeah, any questions so far? Anything that's not... Actually not. This is I don't know if I can say it, but yeah, it's for free actually.
Yeah, the Tokyo.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah. It's a friend requested it to me. It's what's the company again?
There's Tokyo Dawn Recording.
Yeah, TDR. Yeah. TDR. Yeah. It's pretty good. Have you been using it, Tony?
I have, but not like that. I just use standard compression EQ, so that's great to use it like.
Yeah, cool. Way. It took me a while to figure it out, but it's very, very good to understand actually. Yeah. So.
Can we hear the pad again?
Yeah. Shall I put it on?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Like solo?
With the music, actually.
Taken?
Yeah, just with the music, with the.
With the music. Yeah.
So where you're at now?
Yeah.
Where is there any further shaping that you would do to the actual pad sound, or is it a pad sound now, or is it more like a drony bass sound now?
Yeah, this is I like this question because I don't want to define it as either one. So I try to make it something in between. But I can maybe even add some more bassy elements, like for example, like this one. So it's possible. I don't know if I'm gonna use it or not, but with this thing, it's possible to. You have a lot of ways to go on. So I could add this without having too much bottom end.
Yeah. Would you consider maybe using the filter in Massive to shape the sound in some respects, maybe?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, of course I could have done this at the start, like using the filter, like sorry. Let's see. Maybe let me check. Sorry, maybe it's the wrong one here.
No, it's the right one.
That's weird, right?
Yeah. Maybe the second filter, maybe? Suspicious.
Let's change the filter. So
it's definitely working.
Yeah, it's definitely working. I don't know why the cutoff is not working right now. Maybe there's a macro assigned to it.
Yeah, maybe.
We could get rid of this, maybe.
maybe bottom right-hand corner. You know the macros at the bottom right-hand corner. That says brighter cutoff.
Ah, yeah. Now I turn it. Actually, I
cool.
deassigned it. So let's see. Yeah, now we have it. So of course I could also work on this, and I think this is probably the more like the approach you would usually go. You would do.
I mean, we're adding effects. Well, we're adding other. For example, the pedal has a particular distortion has a particular kind of harmonic character, right? Which is cool.
Yeah. Actually, I use the pedal to make it a bit brighter, but of course you can work with the cutoff or make it bright. There's even a macro assigned to it already in the preset here, so you can use that one. And also, it's interesting to you could have an LFO making it go in waves, or this is actually quite handy. And at the massive set, you have these 6 macros here, which when you are in this view, you have them here, you have them there as well, and you can easily assign them to your MIDI keyboard. And this would be I think the more normal approach to tweak it like this. Yeah.
How do you know when it's kind of there, or do you?
No, I never know actually, and that's the annoying thing, of course. So now,
of course.
Yeah. So what you would do now you have the bases kind of, and now you start playing melodies, and then you see, oh, the pad is way too powerful, or you realize you don't even hear it anymore.
But that's kind of cool though, because I think what you're doing is that you're introducing an element into this track.
Yeah.
Saying, hey track, I'm here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And then, it's about where you sit in the party. Do you know what I mean? At some point. So it's so it's great because you know it's working, you like what it's doing, but the role it plays in the track, you're confident that it will fit at some point or not.
Yeah.
The fact that you're letting it sit and you're thinking about the possibilities of it while you're composing, rather than saying, hey, this is it, box tick, bass line down, or pad, or whatever.
Yeah.
Next. Yeah, it's a much more kind of open approach, right?
Yeah, if you stay in the picture, it's like going to a party, but not really taking a seat right away. But
taking a drink, though, definitely.
Taking a drink first. Yeah.
Alcoholic.
No. Yeah. So actually, I'm just on this track right now, so I don't even know if I'm ever gonna finish it or whatever. But I just played a melody for fun already, so let's add this melody and see how the pad is still supporting. Let's see if the pad is supporting the melody or if it's too strong or too weak. So let's make. We basically had kind of the same. What did I do here? Let me check. Oh, it's kind of the same. The first melody idea, and for now I think they go well together actually. So if I take the pad away, it's like this. If I add the pad, and I add my rhythmic bass elements. I want to hear it now actually.
It is there.
Yeah.
Could be a bit louder though.
Or any advice, Tony, for this?
Well, I would. Now, what sound are you using for the melody?
Melody, it's good. I can never remember actually. I have to say. Let's see.
Is it another kind of a...
wait, where is it? Is it this one? Yeah.
I think it's one of the... It looks like you're using 2, right? Is it 2?
Yeah. Okay. No, it's like this. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, another massive. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And would you, as a question, would you approach this ARP sound in the same kind of way? Would you load up a sound which wasn't necessarily an ARP sound, just to?
Actually, I did the arpeggiator myself. I think. Yeah, I used a really simple Ableton arpeggiator. So I can show you how it sounds without the arpeggiator, actually. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, this is without the arpeggiator. So I played this, and then I added the arpeggio. So yeah.
And then when you selected the sound for the arpeggiator, did you have that kind of sound in mind, or would you use the same approach that you had with the drone sound?
Actually, I kind of had this in mind. So I was kind of skipping through the presets until I found something similar, and I didn't want to misuse the lead or something. This is a bit more conventional
Specific,
approach.
yeah, cool.
Yeah. Or specific, yeah.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Any questions from you guys? Question in front.
Okay, this is a more specific. I think you are an expert here, definitely. This is a bit more specific. I wanted to seamlessly switch between having the arpeggio on or not having it at all. So what I did, I did an instrument rack in Ableton, and I have so I have 2 chains. The first chain. Sorry, where is it here? Yeah. So basically, my massive doing the melody is here, in here, and this is within a how do you say, instrument rack by Ableton. And basically, what I did, I just did put in the massive with the arpeggiator in here twice. One is in this chain, and the other one is in the other chain. And actually, there's no arpeggiator in the other chain. So now, with this chain selector, I can seamlessly either have this chain or everything in between. So this is a pretty, because I didn't find a setting for in the arpeggiator where I could just like a dry wet control or something. I didn't find it. Maybe it's in here, but I just didn't see it. So I did it like this. I always do it like this when I use any synth where you don't have any dry wet control. It's
good technique.
Yeah, sometimes you have a bit of phasing though, because you have two synths at the same time.
Yeah.
And then they start to phase, so it's not always working well. So but I think in this case I can I just solo it here. Now you hear it without the arpeggiator, and then I slowly to the other chain. And there's not much phasing. It sounds good.
And it's really the rhythm with both of them.
Yeah.
And it creates a really nice.
That's what I like.
Rhythm. Yeah.
Actually, you have a very different, how do you say, accentuation in these states in between arpeggio on and off. It's changing the rhythm almost. It feels like. So that's what I also like about it. And I will definitely. When I arrange it, I will definitely play with it over the course of the track. Yes?
What is the chain selector macro assigned to?
It's. You mean this one?
Yeah, like I understand how you put the 2 complete instances.
Yeah.
Where do you go?
Okay. I sure. Yeah. I think I understand your question. Like you map it here. And you have to click this. This is like the scale from 0 to 128 which means like it's from let's say 128 is on, 0 is off, and everything in between. Yeah.
Cool. Nice one.
Okay.
Any other questions? So would you approach, I really like first of all, I like the idea of using, the confidence in using a preset in a way that it's not. That's great, because it really frees you up in terms of the possibilities of other sounds.
Yeah.
And then this idea that it just sits in the track and waits to be, waits to have a role to play. It's really, really cool. But at some point, have you ever had worked in this way and it's not worked at all?
I have to say, pads are, for me, it's almost the hardest to work on, because they are like when you are at home, they might sound very tamed and nice, and in a club they can sound very big, and also the other way around, you'd barely hear it in a club, and I actually don't know why. In the end, it's hard for me to find out, but in the end, I have to adjust a lot. I would test it in a club. And then I would go back home and adjust it a little bit, and then see the next weekend how it sounds.
And is it more the sound character of it, or is it the fact that pads can be quite dominant, as in they take up quite a lot of your attention?
Yeah.
And they're very dominant in tracks.
Yeah, yeah. And when you introduce another element, they will never be as big as if they would be without the pad, because the pad is already there.
The body, yeah.
Yeah, it's already saying I'm here, and then the main melody wants to also be there, and then they start to fight for each other. So sometimes even when I have a melody that I think it's very strong and also very dominant, I end up not using the pad anymore. And but it was very helpful to create the melody, because it kind of gives you a guideline. You always have the basal note of your key, and it's very helpful for me sometimes to not get lost in totally different things that are not in key but still interesting. Yeah.
So generally, do you have like go-to patches in Massive that you use, even though you're going to transform them?
Yeah.
Do you have like a go-to, say, category, or do you have a go-to collection of sounds that you use?
Not at all, actually. I always like to start from new. So I usually don't do my own. I wouldn't start a track by preparing sounds or going to my own library. Okay. It's I have to be excited by something that I didn't work on, kind of. I sometimes like to call it soft sampling, but maybe I don't know if it's right to use the preset and saying it's kind of soft sampling, because you're not using an actual sample, but you're using something that another person did. Yeah, sure. And there's also some history in it sometimes. If you would use an old M1 Korg or something, there's a lot of history, and you can almost not use them anymore. But even in the Massive synth, which was, when was it created? 2000. Early 2008 something. Yeah. Even now, it's super interesting to hear the history that begins to unfold in these presets. And so for me, it's kind of a way to work. It's kind of a conceptual approach that I say, okay, I will always start with a preset, and then we'll try to incorporate into my world.
Yeah, I mean, it's particularly strong where, perhaps a preset has been made to perform a specific task, and the fact that, not just say the tonal characteristics, but also back to the envelope, it's been designed to make a particular role in a track.
Yeah.
You're doing almost like the opposite, and you're taking, it's almost like patch transformation. Do you know what I mean? It's like
totally. Yeah. Also, a lot of my lead sounds, or like the most distinctive elements from my tracks, usually come from a preset that were never meant to be a lead. Kind of, it just sounded for me like a lead, so I just didn't care. So, which is, I think, it's not an expert approach. It's also not very, very complicated, but it frees you a bit. Of
course,
yeah.
And also, it's that thing where, at the end of the day, regardless of what the preset is, if it's exciting and you feel that it can complement what you're working on.
Exactly.
That's
And
it, yeah.
this is the point with, now you're saying it's maybe the most important thing. You have to be excited about a sound. It doesn't matter if it's labeled pad or lead or whatever. Like, and I will only use it if I get excited.
And are you still excited now?
Actually, I kind of like the track, yeah. But I'm always...
Do you like it? Yeah? Yeah? Any recommendations?
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah?
And what are you saying, in a fifth octave? What are you thinking?
No, I was thinking that maybe use some sort of like gate effect at some point to sort of like kind of like give it like
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that sounds really good, yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Fifth?
Fifth, yeah, think of fifth.
Yeah.
Between a fifth, that's just me. I'm just
Yeah.
standard Detroit stuff, man. Sorry. Cool. Anyone else? Any other tips? Okay, no worries. Well, thank you very much, man. That was really super insightful. All right.
Thank you, yeah.
Up for
Thank you for your help.
Cool, man. Just let us know when it's on Beatport, yeah.